Good day, I am Marcia Hope, and this is Spotlight. His Excellency President Irfaan Ali has unveiled the ambitious City Revival Plan, a bold vision to reimagine Georgetown. But the real test is, how do we turn this vision into action that impacts people's lives? Today, we will explore what the plan means for tourism, entertainment, sports, interconnectivity, green initiatives, waste management, and even more, the role of artificial intelligence. And beyond the headlines, what does it really mean for business, youth, and for the everyday future of our capital? Joining me are two dynamic entrepreneurs, Khishan Singh, Operations Director of Geico Inc., and Govindra Raghubansi, Executive Director of the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association. Together, we will look at how young leaders can help deliver on President Ali's vision of a cleaner, smarter, and more vibrant Georgetown. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Thank you for the
Definitely a
opportunity.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah. What was your initial reaction when you heard the plan was unveiled to rescue and revive Georgetown?
Well, Guyana's been growing so quickly and so wide, and Georgetown is our hub of everything. We have the culture, we have the religious, we have the oil and gas even. So it was really exciting for me because growing up as a young boy, I went to school in Georgetown, I grew up in Georgetown, I ate in Georgetown. I met everybody I know, most of the people I know and deal with in Georgetown. And to see that this is something that's going to be building to a new frontier and to provide new industries and something more innovative and modern, while still maintaining what we have as Guyanese, it's something really bright to see as a young entrepreneur.
What about you, sir?
All right, so Georgetown has always had the name of being the capital city of the Caribbean. And what I like about the plan is that it will emphasize and play towards our strength. We're going to have more green spaces. We're going to amplify the architectural buildings that are here. I want to add to that there is definitely a distinct look and feel, at least for me, towards Georgetown as a city. No matter what angle you enter the city from, whether it is Avenue of the Republic or at the Square of Revolution, you're always greeted by this lush flora. And as a tourist, if I'm entering this city, we spoke previously that, you need to have these moments you can capture. Right away, that stands out for being something distinctly associated with Georgetown. So I'm really excited that we're putting effort into this and playing towards our advantage.
And I'm going to pivot from your response because we're talking tourism there as well. Not only aesthetic, and tourism is often described as one of Georgetown's untapped gold mines. What are your thoughts on that?
The entertainment sector especially is a really key part of the tourism development in Georgetown. We have the nightlife, we have tours for around Georgetown to see the cultural landmarks, something we already have. But of course, even if you have something already, there's still room to build on it and improve on it. Because you want to maintain what you have, but you want it to be even better. You want the people from overseas and from anywhere to be able to come and experience Guyana in a comfortable way. And something not that they're familiar with, but also something new. And something modern too. So when you combine things like nightlife, tours, you have more concerts, dog shows even. These also spark a good injection into new industries. And these are things that bring more not just tourism, but bring more industries to Guyana, such as sporting events, not betting, but everything that follows, merchandise, things like that. And so apart from that, we also have to develop our merchandise, our Guyana branded merchandise. Because this is going to be something that people want to put up on their wall. They'll be proud that they went to Guyana and went to Georgetown.
Okay.
I think another dimension of tourism that can be explored is that of establishing Georgetown as a walkable city. In the plans that I've read, there have been conceptualizing the Lamaha embankment as a, what do you call it, a walk trail or a trail path. Again, there are several developed paved, what do you want to call it? Paved avenues across Georgetown that would allow a tourist who is coming here, even locals, to ditch the vehicles and take a walk around Georgetown, experience the food along these footpaths. That means there are opportunities for culinary experiences, and we can move away from traditional foods that we know. There's also room there for bike tours. Again, I've only seen one company really hopped onto that trend. Additionally, throughout all of this, there will be some type of, if you want to look at the digital aspect, you need event management tour apps that can facilitate everything that Khishan would have mentioned, along with what I'm touching on here too.
Let's talk a little bit about the digital apps, because we're in the information age, we're in the new age, and everything is an application, and people always want to stay connected to friends, family, and what are your thoughts? What are some things you're likely to see with a reimagined Georgetown in the digital sphere?
Well, one of the main points of digital development is convenience, right? The whole point of developing as human beings is making things not just easier, but also so that we have more time to do the things that matter most to us. So let's say we want to start a house, building a house, or you want to start a business. Something that CHPA has doing, Central Housing Planning, has been doing is the single window system. So if you have any sort of application to run through, you go to one server, you upload all your documents, you upload your name, whatever you have, registration, whatever, and all of that goes to where it needs to go. So you don't have to go to this place and that place and this place, and you're going around the hot sun of Georgetown, back and forth between buildings. That's been something that's discouraged a lot of people. Right? You need to encourage people to grow. And if you have the same old systems, then the people that haven't been taking that risk won't take it now. So when you make that easier and do things like the single window system, or let's say we have Eventbrite that we've been using recently for events in Guyana. More and more people have been using that, and you've seen the ease and the traffic for people going to these concerts and these events. It's increased tremendously. And it's not just the locals, because before you'd have to go to one place and buy your ticket, a physical ticket. Now you pull out your phone. So if you're a tourist coming to Guyana and you're here for the weekend and there's an event, you pull out your phone, you book it. You don't have Guyana dollars on you maybe. You book it with your credit card and you're done. And that speaks towards what advancement has been doing in Georgetown. So more of that coming will change not just the tourism but also the youth's lives. Because we're trying to encourage the youth to stay in Guyana too. We don't want any brain drain, right? So if we make it easier for them and make it more modern, they're more encouraged and enticed to stay and build something, because it's something that can happen at the click of a finger.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
There's another thing too that I would like to touch on, which is the access to information. Georgetown, Guyana is obviously developing. As with a lot of countries, it remains paper-based. There is out for development the Ask Gov chat box. That would solve a lot of problems, where to go, what organizations you need to engage, data that you would need. This would help both diaspora, this would help locals, this would help investors, and having it available 24/7 removes the pace associated with waiting and engaging a agency that would only be here and open up to regular working hours. So it allows persons to be engaged, follow, and ask their questions at the comfort of their times whenever they want to do their research, whether it is home, abroad. Yeah.
Sports. Let's pivot a bit to sports. Sports is seen as a unifier, and it's seen as this activity that brings people together regardless of race, creed, ethnic background, religious beliefs. How do you see the city plan and all that we've seen so far with the upgrading of sporting facilities, and with this broader plan coming into play, helping to unify Guyana through Georgetown?
Well, let's look at some of the main examples. We have the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. We have the Burnham Basketball Court right next to where I went to school, Bishop's High School. And that's just two examples that I could think of right now. those facilities have been developed to a really lovely point. And I see the students passing by, I see the people practicing at the Cliff Sports Hall, and you can see the smile on their faces. Everybody likes a proper new facility, right? And it encourages the kids too, because you don't want them to go and do the wrong things. If they have a good foundation to build their sport life, or even if it's not for a career but as an extracurricular, it encourages them to stay on a straight path and a disciplined path. And we're seeing more of that popping up around Georgetown. So within this new revitalization plan, what I'm hoping to see is more of that, but also more access to not just the people in Georgetown, but also the people around Guyana, so that we can come and we can converge in this one area. And it's been happening in the past, but now it'll be happening on a new level, a better level. And this will be with proper facilities and more modern techniques and hopefully more coaching as well, and access to the international landscape. And we've seen Guyana has a lot of international sportsmen and sportswomen. I have a friend, she went all the way to the Olympics one year, and now she's in the army. I have a friend, he's playing cricket for the national team. He's just I think he's 18 now. But it goes to show all of this talent that's sitting in Guyana. And not just sports, there's the arts as well, right? So all of this comes together to blend and develop our youth. And when they have that full developed foundation, they can actually prosper as the future of Guyana.
I would add that one of the best gifts of Georgetown is the national park. And you only have to take a walk there to see the love for sports that Guyanese have. You will see cricket being played, you will see rugby, you will see some amount of archery, you will see frisbee, you will see table tennis, and that just goes to show that there is love there. And with even better facilities, there would be an even bigger interest, as Khishan mentioned, from the younger persons, because they know there is somewhere they can go to practice. I mean, I don't live in Georgetown, but right next to me there's a really big, I think it's a park that is going up. I've already said that, some days I'm not going to go to the park, I'm going to run right here. But this is just to say how facilities can motivate someone to leave their house. As we mentioned, humans are social creatures. You want to be outside, and we must also not exclude the health benefits of it. We, as a people in Guyana, we faced with very specific health challenges, growing sedentary lifestyle, and from a young age, having these facilities there, it would encourage persons to adopt a physical lifestyle, have that discipline, and if it goes into a sport that they can pursue as a profession, sure, but again, it fosters from a very young age that being physical, being open, is a part of life that you should associate with living in Georgetown. One more thing I want to add. Only recently I would have had a friend from abroad visit, and we again took a walk to the park. It's my go-to place, and they mentioned, it's just like the movies. We have this footpath, and it's not the central park, but I'm just saying the impact it had, and the experience of just going through the park and other physical spaces that we have in Guyana, sports facilities, it has that impact that we want, and we hope to see a lot more of it.
So with the idea of this new city revitalization plan, we're literally reimagining something great and grand that we normally would experience in some first world countries. What was some of your experiences?
As you said, these first world countries have their city. We have New York City, we have Miami, we have London, and they all have their own charm to it. They all have something that's special about it. You want a speakeasy? Go to New York. You want a lovely rainy day and a beautiful landscape with an architectural building? You go to London. You want something fresh, you want something bright, you want something exciting and full of culture, you come to Georgetown. You get a fresh coconut on the side of the road, and you can walk around Georgetown, and you can buy anything you want. You can go on Regent Street, you see a whole array of things. You got Indian, Chinese, Portuguese, all the ethnic groups that we have in Guyana. We have all of that representation. So when you talk about revitalizing Georgetown, you're not just talking about putting up the structure and the infrastructure. You're not just talking about the interconnectivity of these highways to reduce the traffic. But you're talking about selling Georgetown as a brand, as an experience to people. Something that we know and love as Guyanese, but how do we project that onto the rest of the world? How do we show them what's special about us? Because you can't expect people to come and look for it. You have to show them. That's the whole point of marketing. That's the whole point of development. You're showing the people what you have to offer. And we have a lot to offer. But we need to do it in the right way. And we need to give ourselves the facilities and the tools to do that. And all of that, it comes into the revitalization plan, the infrastructure, the schools, the sports, the tourism, but most importantly, the interconnectivity. As Govindra mentioned earlier, you can access Georgetown from so many places now. Back in the day, I remember you could just use Avenue Republic. Now we have Cemetery Road. And even Cemetery Road has those beautiful palm trees, coconut trees, when you're accessing there. You have Cemetery Road, you have Sheriff Street, you have the Heroes Highway coming down from Mandela. All of those things make life so much easier. For example, I came here today. I didn't have to go through the main Georgetown area, I just came through Mandela. So all of these things come together and they really make a cohesive bond to push Georgetown as a new city.
And we would agree that it's long overdue and it's necessary if we have to move with the times.
I mean, I grew up at a very different Georgetown, and I've been waiting for this for a long time. I went to school here, and it was a pain to get to school when I was a child. And after school, you didn't have that many options at the time, right? We were still building. So now to see all these things coming up and these opportunities that these children have, I'm frankly jealous that I'm not in high school now, because it would have been a really exciting time for me, for sports, for entertainment, for building yourself. I mean, we have the National Library there, and there's going to be more things like that as well for school children. So I'm more so excited about what it means for the youth.
Yeah, we'll come back to the youth.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to echo his point there that I too am jealous of the opportunities that the kids have because we went to the same school, and every day I pass, I feel the same joy for the kids, but I'm like, oh no, it should have been me as well. But my thing is that I think Georgetown, you mentioned there, the question was that you go to all these other countries, what makes Georgetown unique? What makes Georgetown unique, and what this plan will obviously capitalize and catapult forward, is that we are a cultural city and we have all this heritage, but how can we bring a modern energy to it, right? And we can do this through, again, these events that we speak about. CPL is a very previous example, the Global Super League. We have a love for cricket, let us tap into that love for cricket. We have a love for some other sports, let us push those. And there are other things too. We are leaders in the realm of being a climate friendly country, again with our RED initiative. So utilizing that to keep these green spaces, to have maybe rooftop bars that have some garden aspect to it, that would go a very long way, and those are things that I would like to see even more of.
Nice, and that would be, of course, the contribution from the business community. And I would love to hear how you would want to participate or collaborate with the government to ensure that the facade and the aesthetic is what they would love to see for a new revitalized Georgetown.
Okay, well, I can start by saying Georgetown is everyone's business, right? There is no, it's only the government, or it's only the citizen, or it's only the business. Everyone has that role to play. Obviously, it's the role of the government to have the guidance, the policy, the framework, and make it as less bureaucratic as possible. But businesses have a role through their CSR, whether it is to adopt the space around them, keep that clean. And this should be not just business. Persons should do this at their residential level too. As a business too, to keep the city clean, persons can commit to having CSR programs that hire from, let's say, underprivileged communities. Those are all things that the business community can commit to. We can adopt a youth business, be as a guide, a mentor, and those are things as youth leaders we would want to see how we can inculcate and practice what we're saying here as well.
I love what you're saying. Do you have any contribution to that?
I of course agree with what Govindra said, but I think the cooperation is one of the key factors, because I might have an idea that is amazing, Govindra might have an idea, but it may be two different things. And when we have two different ideas, nothing's wrong with that, but there has to be some sort of cohesion between it so that they can work together in tandem. Because I'll work here and I'll be up here, he'll work here, he'll be up here, but we're not going in the same direction sometimes. They're both well intentioned, but they're not going the same direction. And if you really want to put together your home the right way, you need to do it together.
Yeah, and this particular plan needs all hands on deck. And as you mentioned about littering and garbage, that is going to be an important role for all of us to be on deck, because the business community, you have a role in playing when it comes to disposal of your garbage, even the very vendors within the market square, and even the simple commuters, pedestrians, all of us. What are some suggestions you will put on the table for waste management?
Well, enforcement is always a key factor, but you also don't want to be commandeering about something. You want to show the people why it's important. Why shouldn't I litter? Now, that may sound like a dumb question to some people, but there are some people that it may seem a bit different. They may not think of it as littering sometimes, or they may not just be taking care of their garbage the right way. So if we start adapting a certain culture, for example, starting with recycling bins, maybe, yes, we don't have recycling facility yet, but if we plan from now, we can change that culture. People would get used to disposing and separating their trash, and that way we can be a more green country. Apart from that, there's waste management in so many other ways. There's the sewage system in Georgetown. That entire material that we collect is being ejected, because that's how it's done all over the world. But we could also process that waste to reuse for so many different things, and the water itself can be retreated too. We've seen it all over the world. It can be done here too. But anti-litter campaigns are definitely going to be a key factor as well, because we need to tell the people why. And we need to get the right people sending out the message as well. What happens? What's the chain reaction of when you're going home and you're tired and you just throw the cup out the window? What happens? Somebody has to go pick it up. It may go into the water. And I've seen so many, I have a tourism company as well, and so many people comment on the state of the Demerara River. They see all this garbage on the sides of the bank, and they think it's nasty. And I told them, I'm like, that didn't even come from here. This came from way in Georgetown, or it came from way south of the Demerara River. And they're amazed because people don't understand how amazing that tide works. That tide can bring a whole tree trunk into the bank. And I've seen it so many times. Or it can bring a boat even. So they really need to think of the impact of everything they do. And this has to start from home. Not just the schools and the government, it has to start from home. And we need to push and make the example and set the example for our children from home. And start that culture. So the recycling bins, even if you don't have a recycling bin, try to practice separating that trash from now. You can use a separate bag even. But just to set that culture. Culture is not an easy thing to make and reform. But it has to be developed.
Yeah.
I'm going to add that, just to add a layer from every great point that Khishan just mentioned, is that we need to have, as people, more civic sense and awareness of our actions, right? Because I've seen plenty times, yes, we can argue that maybe at some points of the city we can use more bins, or they can have more recyclable bins to allow for plastic to be disposed. But I've seen bins being in places and persons opt not to use them. Mm-hmm. So this goes to a wider cultural shift or civic sense. Persons need to know that they should not litter. And to me, this here isn't just even littering. It's how, again, businesses might choose to get rid of their garbage. It is how persons operate in traffic. On a wider sense, if we want to make Guyana a cultural hub, for the Caribbean, for Latin America, we're going to have investors here from all over the world. We need to be welcoming. And one way of being welcoming is, yes, not littering, having options and bins there and ways of getting rid of the garbage, persons policing the littering. But we too as a people need to know that we should not be littering. We should not be, and we can even pivot into traffic, something which to me is equally as bad as littering, but those all are what make a city safe and habitable. And those are some recommendations I would make, that there needs to be very big campaigns at the school level, at the parent level, or home level, even at the national level, on how can we foster a civic sense and awareness of these issues, which would make the country so much more understanding to each other, brotherly, sisterly, whatever we want to use.
And how is the business community going to help the government in terms of the civic responsibility? Because, of course, you have mother, father, brothers, sisters, and all these people as part of your organizations. They're part of society. How do we encourage them to embrace this plan and to ensure that it is a success?
All right. We can start by saying awareness would be the first key area. Again, at the association where I represent, we have a wide spectrum of businesses. The first thing you would want to know, or the first thing you'd want to do to solve any problem is to understand what the problem is. Again, that would mean doing workshops internally and showing persons what are some solutions they can take for the current waste disposal methods that they do. It would also involve them, and we have a few businesses that practice this here. They have adopted safe spaces that they upkeep right on the highway. If you can recall, I don't know if you can, but you know, at Land of Canaan area there's a beautiful area with palm trees, some benches. It's by the seawall. It's a really nice area. I believe one of our members, which would have been, I think it's Bounty, they're upkeeping the area. And if we can have similar engagements by other businesses, it would be a step in the right direction.
One thing we've been doing as well, through the BSOs, like Private Sector Commission, the GMSA, in relation with the President's Cleanup Initiative, we've been having very frequent cleanup campaigns around Georgetown, around Guyana, all over the country. And it's early mornings, like 5 a.m. for about 2-3 hours, and everybody comes out. The moms, the dads, the children, they all come out and they try to put a hand in helping. And it's not even limited to just the organization's members. People have seen the initiatives and have called me personally and said, hey, I want to be a part of this, because they see what it means for Guyana. So again, it goes back to the cooperation between everybody. So through the business community, if we have more cleanup campaigns like that, not only does it show the together combat against the problem, but it also reminds people of how hard this work is to clean up after everybody else. And I'm sure, I guarantee you, some people that are part of the cleanup might have been part of the problem at some point, but now they see the importance of it, and they realize how hard it is to get people up 5 a.m. And you can't expect the government to do everything. The people have to do something too, to help, right? Because you're helping your brother, you're helping your sister, you're helping your neighbor. You can't sit down and expect the government to take care of all of it. We have to work together as a team, as Guyanese. At the end of the day, the government is Guyanese too, so we need to take that on ourselves as well. So I'm hoping that initiatives like that can encourage more business people, and like what Govindra mentioned, a lot of green spaces that are being upkeep by private sector. And these things are important. The private sector is a very main driver of the economy in Guyana. And if they don't take care of it, what are they driving? What's there going to be to grow and work for?
Okay. How do they intend to deal with traffic management? Because, you know, the private sector is also blamed ever so often for containers being on the roadway and encumbering other commuters and motorists on the streets. That is something as well the private sector will have to consider in terms of how they time the offloading of goods during peak hours and off-peak hours and stuff like that.
It goes without saying that there's always risk with, especially with containers. And in a developing nation, when we have highways under construction as well, it may be sometimes difficult to designate roadways for certain container trucks, sand trucks, different lorries. So it is something we have to be patient with. I will admit, because I'm in that business as well. I'm also the chairman of the Road Safety Council on the East Bank, and I see the issues, and people complain, and I sympathize with them. And at the same time, you're put in a difficult position because sometimes there is not much choice. So you have to try your best to regulate it, but you have to plan. And as you said, rightfully so, you have to plan the timings as well. So peak hours, don't put the container truck on in the peak hours, because that truck will be moving. And also, in a green initiative, those carbon emissions are even more if that container truck sits in traffic for 4 hours. And we can't be having that, right? So the traffic management will be a big part of it, and the private sector all over Guyana has tried their best to work with the Guyana police force as well to work on this. And we've been having frequent meetings. We've been having meetings with the Ministry of Home Affairs as well to try tackle this, because it's a serious problem. But as I said, there's so much construction going on around Guyana, and hopefully, and I'm sure, when these roads are completed and when we have some more overpasses and so on to deal with entry and exit, these things will improve heavily. And also, the government has been talking about the railroad section too, so that will majorly impact the way we handle cargo around Guyana. And think about it: if you have no container trucks on the road anymore, or just a few, how much more free will places like the Avenue Republic be?
So we're not only talking about a new Georgetown, but a new Guyana when this is implemented, because it will obviously have that ripple effect. It will span out and pan out to better serve other communities outside of Georgetown.
Exactly.
Yeah?
But while I can't add a recommendation, like Khishan just said, I just want to provide some context that we're in a country right now which is again growing rapidly, and a reason for this growth is that there's a lot of construction, oil and gas going on, manufacturing is growing, and this is all just to say that there will be, or there is, an increased amount of container ships coming to Guyana. So whilst we acknowledge that yes, traffic is very serious and there's definitely room for improvement, there has been an equal or even more increased amount in containers coming to Port Georgetown. And one of the major costs right now towards consumer goods is shipping costs. And if we are to right away snap and say containers can only offload at a certain time, this can maybe adversely impact costs, and that would only affect the regular everyday Guyanese. So it definitely needs more thought, and there's always room for improvement. But just to add some context of what's really happening in the future, though, coming to the point that we can have more entry and exits and railways, having ports outside of Guyana too, which are being looked at, such as in Berbice, that would go a long way in the same revitalization of Georgetown, because no longer will here be the prime offloading area. It can potentially be Berbice.
And I want to add as well, there are multiple ports under development right now that will be taking that strain off. There's multiple on the west bank, multiple in Berbice, as you said. There's more on the east bank further down. So that is going to be split, because now we have the new bridge. So now the channel will be able to dredge fully. So now all of those vessels that stop in Georgetown, a lot of them will be able to come further down South Demerara River, and on the western side as well, because now they'll be able to have the draft to take in those bigger vessels.
So my understanding is that the private sector is open to this revitalization plan. You see a bigger, brighter, prosperous Georgetown should this plan be implemented.
Yeah, we've been waiting with our hands on our chins for a bit for this plan. So we're excited and we're very, very supportive of it.
And your membership as well is excited as well.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely. As you can see, I think we should all appreciate that Guyana has been moving really rapidly, and at least maybe it can be from the lens I'm looking at it through. A lot of businesses have stepped up, a lot of young professionals have stepped up to the opportunities that have arisen and positioned themselves accordingly to not only contribute to the development of Guyana, but to be a part of it. And we all would like a better Georgetown at the end of the day. It is our capital city, it's everyone's business.
Indeed. I'll put a question to you, and I trust it does not compromise your position as business leaders. But there is that side of the City Hall, because City Hall is responsible for managing the city, and there is this mounting criticism that the government is usurping or is attempting to usurp their role in terms of managing City Hall. Do you all see this as something being usurped, or is just central government saying it's long overdue, you can't manage a city, so we'll just take control and just enhance the city and you work alongside us? How you feel about that?
Well, the government changed for Georgetown, right? That's the fact. And it doesn't matter who wants to do what. The fact is that this is the government that's in control right now, and they have a job to do, and they're doing the job. That's exactly what it is. It's not about usurping anything or using anything for any sort of mileage. It's about doing the job the right way, doing the job with a vision of decades in the future for Guyana, for Georgetown. So it's not about what anybody's doing for their personal effect, but it's about doing what it's supposed to do. It's simple as that. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I look at it as there will always be multiple political players in any country, and more so in Guyana. And again, it is being given the opportunity to develop area which you previously did not had the reins to do so. And as you said, everything doesn't have to be usurping one party over another. It can be complementary. And again, it's for the benefit of Georgetown, the people of Georgetown, so it doesn't have to be in a combative nature. I don't per se perceive it as that.
Certainly. It's all for the greater good of Georgetown and by extension Guyana. If you have a message, a very strong message you want to send to your friends, family, and the wider Guyana and even the diaspora, what message will that strong message be in terms of working with this government to enhance the city?
All right, I will say that I like the approach that the government has taken with being very consultative. I would have, for one, attended the manifesto consultations, and that level of interest in what persons have to say, the people have to say, and developing policies to match those needs was something that I really admired. And what I would say to diaspora, my friends, young persons, professionals, business owners, is that reach out through whatever means necessary to whatever projects you have, and it is an engaging environment. You should not disqualify yourself from any ideas you have, any initiatives, whether it's a social initiative. You shouldn't just disqualify it right away. Reach out. Has been a listening ear, at least publicly.
What Govindra said is perfectly on point. And Guyana is ripe and ready for the picking. This isn't the Guyana that I grew up in. This is a totally different country with all the best parts from when I grew up. And we have a government that's supportive of change, supportive of advancement and innovation, and even digital innovation. We've heard so many talks about AI even. Now, how can you get more modern than that? So I encourage people from the diaspora. I encourage them to come back. I encourage the locals to build on their ideas, put together a proposal, come together. You don't need to go and look for partners overseas all the time. Govindra's my friend. If I have an idea, I could go with Govindra. We could work on it together. You have a friend, a sister, a mother, anybody. You join together, join your abilities, bring together your ideas, and make it something. Put it together in a proposal, present it to the right people. There's so much access to funding now in Guyana. This is something I hear a lot. There's no access to funding. We have so many export-import banks from the US, from the UK, Europe, from Africa even. We have the IDB, we have the World Bank, we have Go Invest, and I can keep going on and on and on. There is a way, and you have the avenue, you have the encouragement, you have the right people to listen to you too. So take these opportunities now. It's not going to be there forever. It's not going to be there forever. This is the time you need to take it. And when that time comes, it's a different time. It's a better time, but right now we have to make use of now. And we need to do it together. And most of all, we can do all of this. We can have these conversations. We can build the buildings with the fancy gardens on top of them. We can look like New York. We can look like Central Park. But it doesn't matter unless people read, people pay attention, people critically think about everything they do and they see and analyze it properly. Because then you'll understand the why. Because you can always ask why. When I was a kid, I used to ask why for everything. My mother used to get so annoyed by it. But I always had a point behind it because I wanted to know the reason behind it. And if you can answer that question for yourself, man, you are in gold. So that's my message. Just help us. Let's build together, one Guyana, in whatever way you need to.
Thank you, Khishan and Govindra, for those insights that you shared with us today. I'm sure members of the public will appreciate your insights because they're valuable, and of course it's going to push the One Guyana agenda, where every creed and race will have an equal place in Guyana, and not only the city Guyana we're talking about. I am Marcia Hope, and this has been Spotlight. Today we heard how the city revival plan can stretch beyond buildings into tourism, entertainment, sports, sustainability, AI, and youth inclusion. My thanks to Khishan Singh and Govindra Raghubansi for sharing their vision. The message is clear. Georgetown's revival will depend on innovation, collaboration, and the energy of young entrepreneurs ready to lead. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep the vision alive and keep shining your light.